What's up, everybody? Thralls Melly here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you. So we got two big ones out of the way real early on. I mean, yeah, of course we had to cover those. So we're going to go diving more into the underground here. And we're going to cover a pretty interesting one. That's a little bit maybe more on the hardcore spectrum, but I was definitely interested in them after I heard their debut album. So we are going to go over the latest offering from Jesus Piece, So Unknown. This also comes out on the 14th of April on Century Media Records. This is their Century Media debut. They were on Southern Lord before. This band formed in 2015 in Philadelphia. Again, this is their second album overall, and this is, I would say, hardcore slash metalcore mixed with like death metal, brutal death metal, lots of chugging, lots of slamming, lots of fucking violence. Like, this is music to kick the shit out of everybody to. I initially got turned on to this band, namely because I saw a couple videos and then I saw that their frontman, Aaron Hurd, actually popped up on Sanguisugabog's last album and delivered some absolutely savage fucking vocals to complement Devin's already savage vocals.
Right.
And yeah, I was pretty interested, checked out some videos, and yeah, this is, well, I mean, a very condensed listen. Like, this is the exact opposite of Metallica's new one. Because this album is only 27 minutes, which would constitute like 2 songs on the new fucking Metallica album. This is just brutal from start to finish and driven by chugs, breakdowns, and fucking anger.
Yeah, they're definitely pissed. There's no doubt about that. From the ferocious riffing to the ferocious yelling.
Honestly, listening to this kind of reminded me of when I initially got into hardcore. Lots of Victory Records bands. I mean, we've definitely brought up that shit quite a bit here, but yeah, I'm going to name drop some anyway. Earth Crisis. Earth Crisis is probably the big one, but mixed with more of like a modern hardcore approach, like you would hear in a band like Knocked Loose, and definitely more of that kind of groovy, breakdown-centric death metal that's also in love with hardcore as well, like Tribal Gaze, Sanguisugabog. I mean, we already brought that one up. But kind of combine all that with a fuck ton of ferocity and a little bit of atmosphere, too, which was something I kind of liked on here. Lots of, like, dissonant stuff that, you know, kind of carries between tracks because the tracks are just fucking violent, chaotic.
Yeah, and then most of them are like 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And the ambience isn't necessarily in the music this time, more so in, like, electronic synth mostly,
or just in like distorting the sound in general. Like, you have spots that kind of come off a little bit muffled and they kind of, you know, expand a little bit, kind of, you know, coming in waves. Like Stolen Life, there is this really interesting transition with like a skittering snare, and they kind of muffle the drums in the mix, and then just kind of swells up and then goes into
it actually reminds me
breakdown.
It actually reminds me of a trick that Candiria would use from time to time on their albums.
Honestly,
they'd muffle everything and then just kind of let things skitter out, almost like a jazzy type of like freelance expression almost.
And, you know, of course, culminate in a giant explosion of something ferociously heavy. When it comes down to, like, riffs on here, this is a fuck ton of primal chugging. I would say more along the lines of hardcore, like, they syncopate a lot, like, mostly, again, on the bass drum hits, kind of just getting the mosh energy going, because this is 27 minutes of mosh energy, like, only mosh energy. Like,
yeah,
this is music to fucking hurt someone to.
Yeah, the kids are gonna love it.
Yeah. Us old folks on the edge of the pit looking at you kids hurting each other like, man, the band's cool and all, but I'm not getting anywhere near you fucking crazy fucks.
People are always like, why don't you guys get in the pit? And I'm just like...
Because I'll die.
Right there.
Are you kidding?
That's why. No, back when we were talking about ambience and synthy dissonance and whatnot, there are 2 tracks that kind of stood out, not so much in the hardcore vein, but they reminded me a lot of the Deftones. Really airy, really spacey things. More subdued than anything else found on the album. Yeah,
definitely the most melodic offerings. Silver Lining and Stolen Life. Those both just, I don't know, like, all right, when I say melody, like, I'm not saying like, oh, this is the soft, pretty jam. Like, this is tailor-made for the radio and all that horse shit. It's not. It's still violent, but there's a touch of melody to it. And again, sort of that sort of airiness that you would associate with Deftones in terms of like, kind of muffling the guitars, making them sound a little shoegazy, and then coming in with big chugging riffs, which is a good chunk of Deftones' career right there.
Yep. But Stolen Life was Deftones played by Wes Borland.
Honestly, yeah.
Yep.
And that's not really a dig so much, because I like Wes Borland's guitar style. He's just stuck in a fucking band that I don't give a fuck about.
Yes. Yep, right there. He's actually a decent guitar player.
Yeah.
I've seen him live a couple times. He actually really is pretty good, but he's in Limp Bizkit, so...
Paycheck's a paycheck. Another thing that I really liked about this is, well, again, I think the riffs are very similar. Like, it's very just bass and primal, which totally works for the vibe. Like, that's kind of the energy on here, and this is definitely an album I would say is more driven by energy than it is by, like, very creative riff structure. The riffs are primal and fucking ugly, and they should be. But I like the vocal dynamics because it's kind of coming at you from different places in the mix. Like, you have Aaron Hurd's token, more kind of like death metal / hardcore growls. Like, it kind of sits somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Honestly, it reminds me a lot of the Acacia Strain. Like, he's just kind of got that roar that's kind of sitting in between styles.
And when Howard Jones was in Blood Has Been Shed.
Yeah, actually.
A lot of that kind of, like, it's low, but at the same time, his voice cracks in places.
It's definitely not done, like, safely. Like, it sounds as though it's just raw and throaty, probably sacrificing some fucking larynx meat while he's at it.
Yeah.
But it's effective. Plus, you have the backup vocals that come in, give it sort of a gang vocal sort of thing. But those are also very raw, where, like, you know, you think of, like, traditional hardcore, you know, backup vocals, like, you know, Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front, Sick of It All. They're more yelled. These are also growled and also very feral sounding. So this becomes like kind of a real just emotional, dark fucking listen, but it's mostly angry. Like, this is a ferocious album.
Yeah, they're mostly mad. Normally when you think of bands with this description and you know, dark or whatever, you think of evil sounding. And in this case, it's more of like angsty fucking late teens.
Yeah. Or, you know, I mean, early to mid-20s, too.
Early to mid-20s. I mean,
that's
the whole time period when I was more into hardcore music, for sure.
But honestly, it does have some flat-out metal moments on here, like, namely the song Profane. I think that has one of the most decidedly metal riffs on it. Like, there's just something that screams more metal than hardcore on it. And, you know, metal is used as kind of like an accent in the guitar riffs. Like, occasionally you get, like, some cool death metal accents every now and then, like especially on Fear of Failure. Big hardcore chugs, but you have these like brief little like death metal tremolo riffs that are sort of used as an accent on it.
Yes, because there's not really tremolo riffs on here, but they are used in accents. In Profane, there's a bit more melody, and there are a couple harmonies, and when I mean a couple, I mean like a couple. It's only one tag on the end of the melody.
Yeah.
But it's in there.
And if you're a flat-out groove junkie when it comes down to hardcore, this lays on the groove almost entirely. There's a couple of faster moments, like namely an Offering to the Night, where it kind of picks up the pace. You get more of like a straight-up D-beat, sort of, you know, like what we'd associate with the more punky side of hardcore in general, but a lot of this is just groove, chug, and again, violence. But that's also something that kind of works against this slightly. Well, the energy is peaked, and there is enough like ambience and, you know, some melody here and there. This feels like one continuous beatdown / breakdown, because this album definitely lives and dies by the breakdown. But it's pretty much like, yeah, they already knocked you to the fucking floor with the first shot, and now they're just punching you in the face until you are just wet skull chunks in the fucking floor itself. Like, there's no head left. That is cool in terms of like an energy sort of, you know, thing. Like, if you want to keep everything heightened and fucking violent, but at the same time, it kind of works against it in terms of the songs don't get a chance to really stand out very much.
I agree with that. There's only so much you can do with a 2-minute song. Now, that's nothing against, say, like grindcore, but grindcore has typically a lot more elements to it that they squeeze into this very small space. Whereas these guys, the main focus of each of these songs is a breakdown. I mean, I like breakdowns too, I think as much as the next guy does. But if that's the only thing you have going on in the song that makes it, you know, that makes each song shine, it's not really enough to make them stand apart from each other. You're just like, oh, another breakdown.
Yeah, and with grindcore, the breaks away from tradition, like the frequent blasting and this, you know, the ferocious fast pace of it, like when they do slow down, it becomes more noticeable.
Yeah.
This is sort of variations on a lot of the same grooves. Like, you have that sort of hardcore sort of bounce. You have like more slow slam sort of riffs and melodies and rhythms in there too. But they kind of, you know, just kind of move them around a lot. This does get kind of repetitious in terms of them going to like that same well. Granted, it's a good well and it's full of violence and, fucking headbangable grooves. It just kind of gets old after a while because the riffs themselves, there aren't enough clever accents to really break them apart. And that's something that is, maybe a little bit comparable to a lot of the hardcore infused death metal acts. The hardcore infused death metal acts utilize death metal riffs a little bit more and, kind of mix it in with the hardcore chugging. This is more straightforward to the hardcore side. And again, energy is good, but a little bit of variety in the riffs to make them stand out, it would help. Like there's some moments in here where they use like some more ambient stuff. Like there's some cool like descending tremolo atmospheric stuff in here. And the transitional atmosphere between some of the tracks is really good, and it does break it apart and make it sort of a cool continuous listen. But, the well is kind of limited on this, but, it's more, again, about the energy.
There was a time in my life where I was more into hardcore. I was in my late teens and early 20s, and this definitely, I think, would have spoken more to me then. There's great groove in here. There's great breakdowns. There's a lot of chug. There's the typical tropes that I like about death metal. I just don't like the overall polished kind of hardcore sound that this had in particular, as much as I would say something else that falls in this line. The snare drum I thought was too triggered. It just sounded too clean drum-wise, and while the guitars again sound gritty, I didn't find a whole lot going on besides breakdowns. The fact that each song had some electronic stuff thrown in at the end of it, in which you said it tied it together, I just thought why would you be putting 30 seconds worth of filler into this? In the end of Silver Lining, it has 30 seconds worth of that noise, and that song's only 3.5 minutes long. So it means the last 30 seconds of an already short song is just electronic noise. I mean, I get it. I liked this band. I still do like this band. The videos, it must have been, I don't know. The videos caught me. I thought it was really cool in the videos. Overall, 3 stars is pretty good. It was cool. It's a 3.
I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5. Again, I'm more of a hardcore fan. I still have quite a thing for that old school Victory record sound, and I do like a fair amount of new hardcore bands as well. I think that the more extreme metal elements on here could stand out a little bit more, because this does go to the chug well very often. I mean, it's a well we like to bring up, quite a bit. We say chug a lot. We say distance a lot too. This has both.
I mean, I'm wearing a Chugwell shirt.
Yeah, that's 100% Chugwell, and it's fucking awesome.
Yep.
I really dig this as well. It's just, for such a short offering, I feel like you're kind of getting a lot of one thing. And I think there's more dynamic in the vocals than there is in the riffing. Riffing is still a big part of hardcore. Granted, it's way more primal often. I think there could have been just a little bit more there. But overall, it's about the energy. I dig it. I will get nowhere near this fucking pit if I see this band live, which, honestly, the live footage of this band, I definitely want to see them live. Again, I don't want to get...
We'll be standing back.
Yeah, no, because I'll be catching a fucking size 10 across the fucking temple and probably dying right there. I think, this is just kind of thriving on being just an angry, violent, sort of hard-to-catch fucking album. And, it may take even more listens for me to, really, really get into this more. But so far, I dig this. I think it's nice and violent. If you're a fan of bands like Knocked Loose especially, but also, I'd say, Sick of It All, but also, bands like Creeping Death, Treble Gaze, Acacia Strain. Lots of heavy, chug-driven bands. If you like any of that shit, you'll probably dig this. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our store is there. Also, our Patreon link. Our store is rather empty at the moment, but we will be reloading. But that'll have to wait until after Denver Death Fest.
Denver Death Fest. It's now only, by the time this video comes out, it'll be 4 days away. 4 fucking days away. Are you kidding me? Been working on this for over a year now. Holy shit, we are almost there. 3 days, 28 bands. There is a flash sale going on for tickets right now. 12 a.m. Saturday through 12 a.m. Monday. You can get single day tickets for $12.50 or a 3-day pass for $40. Holy shit. Now's your chance to do this. If you want to come out and spend a day, man, $12.50. Now's your time. Fucking do it. All Thralls of Metal is going to be there. We're going to be walking around having a great time. There's going to be some bands. You definitely have a chance to mingle and meet some folks. come out and have a beverage, come out and smoke a joint, have a good time. Denver Death Fest. It's almost here. We made it.
Yeah.
We did it. It's happening.
It's
Miller's on the road right now.
Yeah. And of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following. Means the world to us. It warms the cockles of our hearts.
It feels a tingly warmth right in here.
He just exposed his cockles to you. Isn't that something?
I wouldn't dare show my cockles on YouTube. That would be wrong.
Yeah, we'd probably get deplatformed for that.
Yeah.
No full cockles exposure.
Cockles. No one should do that. Don't show your cockles.
Like, you can show a little bit of cockle's neck, I think. That's about it. But no, seriously, you guys all rule. You guys all keep us going. We have plenty of content planned for you. Of course, that'll wait till after we're back from Denver. But yeah, tons of stuff coming this year. Looking forward to overloading you guys with a ton of metal content. So definitely stay tuned, and we will catch you later.